This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
GPS, how are you? I
have a lot to say, but I think we're going to start with a video clip and then we'll get into our small talk after.
If it is Mamdani in New York, again, I think this has very important national implications.
So I disagree with you a little bit. I both agree and disagree. I'll tell you why. I disagree that the mayor of New York sets the national tone in the way that New Yorkers maybe think that he does. I don't think that people living in purple districts in the middle of the country actually really care all that much who the mayor of New York is. I don't think they do. What I will say, though, is I think that to your point about Sister Soldier, I actually do think that those people, should Mamdani win, those people should criticize him. That's fine. I actually think that's a good thing. Separate yourself from somebody who's running in New York City, one of the most liberal districts, places in this country, because you represent somewhere different. I think that's okay and actually creates distance in a way that I think isn't bad. But I also think that Democrats, national Democrats, have, shocker, wrung their hands about this too much. I think Mamdani has a lot of energy. He's excited a lot of young people. He's brought a cohort of voters who have been unsatisfied with the Democratic Party into the tent. And you have to win in order to win. And I think that Democrats are constantly looking to try to take a loss out of a win. They're trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And I think that if Mamdani wins with a coalition of voters who have been not all that excited about the Democratic Party over the last few years, I think that's a good thing for the Democrats. And I think if you're in a purple district, say you disagree with some of the things that he does and use that to establish your independent cred.
All right. So we've got a lovely guest that we have to welcome, but I also, have some things I got to say. Last week, we opened with a clip of Shohei Ohtani's brilliant performance to close out the NLCS. And we came right out of the gate with it, and it was great. Now, for this week, you decided to schedule the show in the middle of the seventh inning of a World Series game featuring the Dodgers. Questionable? Yes. Rude? Also, yes. So if you see the reflection of the TV changing off the side of my face, sorry, I'm working. I have to watch this game. Mark, explain yourself, and please introduce our very lovely guest.
I'm gonna introduce Lauren Conlon, who is based out of New York, but is the latest contributor for LA Magazine. And you can't, as you said, one of the game of the ages last week. Yeah. But the game right now, as I sit here in New York, since they don't have a team that's playing, the game right now is number one, the election, number two, over in Brooklyn, the indictment, the NBA indictment. I mean, you cannot go anywhere here without having people talk about both. And I disagree with the woman who we just showed in the clip that the rest of the country doesn't care. I just literally within the last hour read something where 70% of the country has heard of this election, and an equal number says that they think it's important. And clearly it's gotten the attention of the president. It's gotten the attention of the Republican Party or people within the Republican Party. And apparently it got the attention of somebody, as we're taking this tonight during the seventh innings, thank you very much, Gary, of somebody who was criticizing you, Lauren Conlon, and why were they?
Oh my gosh. Well, Mark, I told you offline, I don't really like to engage in Twitter arguments, but if I see something every now and again and, I feel strongly, I'll comment. And the latest consensus, I think, between Republicans and Democrats and moderates is, why hasn't Curtis just dropped out yet? Some people say money. Curtis gets up there and says, it's about principle. I'm not dropping out. I earned this. Cuomo didn't earn this. Yes, he won for his party, but it's like, I hate to say that the cliche, a vote for Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani, but that's what it is. So I just commented on Michael Rappaport's post. He's constantly tweeting about this. It's hard to miss it. And man, did I get attacked. I had a dude tell me to
go. Somebody told you to go back into the kitchen and make a sandwich, I think.
Yeah. And then he said, don't make me take my belt off. I'm going to you're the reason, you basically why women shouldn't vote. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm like, all right, guys, sorry. I'm the problem. I'm the reason why Mamdani's going to get elected, not this idiotic, stubborn big mouth right here. It's like, guys, I know what you're saying. I'm a reasonable person who completely understands your thinking. The problem with those people is they don't understand a moderate person's thinking, a sensible person's thinking. How is that? How do you not get what I'm trying to do here? I told you this. I don't love voting for, or the fact that I'm going to vote for Cuomo. There, I said it. I hope I don't upset too many people, but I don't love that I have to do this. But it is what it is, and that's how I feel. But I mean, talking like that.
I'm not gonna. You fit a certain demo, but Gary interests me. Gary, how old are you?
40 years old.
Okay, so you're about. And there, I have uniformly walked around New York, talked to people I've employed, people I know. If you're a male under 35, it's across the political spectrum. You're from Mamdani. I've never seen anything like it in New York.
Oh. I mean, I hate to. I'll say 35 is okay. I think that you understand what's going on at 35. My concern is, with the gubernatorial vote, there was 20 somethings. And, we've seen the 20 somethings at all of the, the pro-Palestine rallies, that like the gays for Palestine, when you're like, really? Okay. Or queers for Palestine, whatever it is. And you're like, who's going to tell them? And then you see all the videos. And I know that this is probably what I'm seeing in my feed, but you see these videos of these kids who don't really know why they're there. They're just there to protest, to have a voice. And you're like, great. And that's how I feel about a lot of these Mamdani voters right now.
Well, I'll just give one story and then I'll let Gary answer the question. I was having lunch with a young man who will remain nameless, who was very pro-Mamdani. And I said, why? I wanted to just hear. And he said, my rent has been raised every, it seems like every month, and my rent is going up. And I said, okay, I understand. I said, what do you do for a living? He works for a property management company. I said, aren't you, as a working for the property management company, aren't you raising other people's rents? Yeah. And what is going to happen to your job if the rents get frozen? And it was like a light bulb went off over this young man's head.
Do you think it changed his mind?
I actually do. I actually think, you mean I could be out of a job? It was kind of like 6'7",
okay. Who do you have a bet with to work that in for a successive number of weeks? Yeah, this is getting ridiculous. But I mean, here's the thing is that I think that is the sort of light bulb moment. And like people, I think, need to be one-on-one, have their minds changed. And I just don't know if that's practical. I don't think there's anyone who has the time or the ability to go through and like make the salient points that you were able to make and bring this kid around to reality.
So for people who don't understand, Curtis Silva is the Republican nominee who is basically polling at 16 or 17% roughly, has been called out by one of his employers, John Katsimitidis, who's a very prominent a New Yorker, and John owns WABC, and John employs Curtis for over 30 years, gave him a 30-year contract. John has told him that he needs to pull out of this race because it looks like that 16 or 17, if he pulled out, would close the gap on Cuomo and get him within 7 points. I saw Melissa DeRosa just posted a throwback, if you will, to Bloomberg being behind 2 weeks going into the election some 20-something years ago, and he pulled it out against Mark Green. So, which I thought was interesting. And that was kind of a throwback, history does repeat itself. So anyway, Silva, there's another interview that's making me rounds on the internet of him saying, "Why are they telling me to get out? They should, he should get out. I earned this. I'm here." And then there's people who are saying the only reason he's in is because he's taken matching funds and he's living off the matching funds. So it's become a whole sideshow.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. I get that reasoning. Like I deserve to be here. I earned it. It's just it's not about that anymore. In my opinion, money aside for Curtis, his heart is in the right place. But you don't love New York City if you don't get out of the race right now. It's plain and simple. And like 2021, he brought his cats to the polls. That's not a serious person to me. And it's disappointing because, again, his heart is in the right place and he does love New York. He's done a lot for New York. It's just like, come on. And, I also want to say this, Mark, the young people who want all these freebies, yes, rent stabilization, that's great. I'm sorry, but they're lazy. When I was in my 20s, do you know how many jobs I had? I had I want to say 4 jobs. I honestly was a waitress. I was babysitting. I had an internship. I would host at a different restaurant. I mean, it was insane what I did. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't align with some of those people and just sort of
which reminds me, one of our listeners corrected me as I had said, Gary was like the Jamaican character in Saturday Night Live, and it was apparently in living color, right, Gary? And we were corrected on that. They should get some merch because I don't want to.
Yeah, I'll get right on that as soon as the game's over. And by the way, Lauren, I am not as familiar with New York politics as you are, so I had to look it up to make sure that this was in fact real. And wow, I mean, wow. Mm-hmm. And for those who are just listening, I have thrown, for the YouTube audience, youtube.com/reasonable doubt podcast. I've thrown up a picture of the mayoral candidate who Lauren was talking about with his cats. And okay.
Now, the other story, which is one that I would think would appeal to Gary, as he looks off to stage right, is and Lauren, you've been all over this. So do you want to encapsulate? And it's over in Brooklyn is where they indicted it.
Yes. Yes, in the Eastern District of New York. Well, Thursday morning, I think was a little crazy. I woke up to this big media alert about 2 NBA stars getting arrested. And I was a little confused. And then I saw it was mafia linked somehow. And then I was very confused. And I think now that I'm familiar with the story, I mean, technically it's 2 separate indictments here. And we've got a very heavy mafia indictment that involves a rigged poker game. And then we've got an indictment about illegal sports betting. And I'm not a big sports person. So I've really had to, I say sports person, that's horrible. It's just so bad. So I really had to study the last couple of days, just sports betting in general. But the illegal poker games, or the rigged poker games, I should say, this involved Chauncey Billups, right? Big NBA coach, Trailblazers coach. And when I first saw this, I'm thinking like, wow, this guy is linked to the mob somehow. That's wild. At this point, Mark, Gary, I don't even think he has ever met anyone in the mob. He was really only cited at one of these rigged poker games. This is mainly, I think, a mafia indictment, as they say. And, they are alleging that, there's
I was going to say, and from what I read, it sounds like Chauncey was paid to be at a game. So maybe he was just sort of a draw for other people who wanted to spend time with and in the presence of, a former NBA coach and player.
Well, one of the things, there used to be a catalog when I was a little kid before you were born, and you could get the magic glasses, and the magic glasses came with an invisible ink. And you could see when you would write with the invisible ink. Apparently, this is what a variation on this theme is what was used in the poker games, where people wrote on the back of the card so that you could see what the card was.
There was some of that, and then there was cameras built into the tables. So apparently, there was someone who had knowledge of people's whole cards, and there was a whole variety of things. And by the way, Mark, you'll be delighted to know that the magic glasses live on. My son got a pair on Tuesday of this week and came home to show me a very derogatory message he had written on the wall about Dad. So that was fun.
Oh my goodness. Really?
What did
So
it
that's
say?
2 days before. He was early money this week.
I'll just say this, Lauren, it commented on whether or not dad may fart from time to time. So that was, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's such like a little boy. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's
I love
fantastic. It's fantastic.
Wow.
But yeah.
The thing that struck me about it was there was a lot of fanfare and a big indictment, but then it was basically 7 million over 6 years.
Yes.
So,
yes. And Cash
this is
Patel,
what I
sorry,
don't
Mark,
understand.
he's making it such a big deal. Cash Patel. He's like, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of. It's like, all right, get to it, dude. Get to it. Like,
this is what I immediately go to. The amount of money that an NBA player makes in a year. What is the incentive for an NBA player to throw a game where there's only basically $1 million a year, which is less than the mandatory minimum? Something is disjointed here. So.
Yeah,
I'm not going to comment too much.
No, I completely agree, Mark. I agree. When I saw that he was paid, $50,000 to be there, it's like, that's not what 50 grand is to someone like Chauncey Billups is not what 50 grand is to someone like me. So I'm a little confused by some of the motives here, but everyone. By
the way, I can't tell you the number of artists that I know that I've talked to who get a bag of 50 grand or get, a check for 50 grand to show up to an after party after a concert when they go to a city in connection with their tour. That is just, that's kind of something that you do that takes care or pays the overhead.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've noticed too, just with this case, it also seems to be this race war too, where you see a lot of people saying, oh, they're making the NBA players, the black people, the scapegoat of this. And then I got a statement from an attorney today representing one of the defendants who said, you guys are trying to make the Italians the scapegoat of this. It's always about the Italians and the mafia and everything. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be one of these. So.
Right. And there's also an Asian woman who's in there as well. So that just kind of adds to the flavor of it does kind of read like a bad 90s novel that was turned into a kind of a straight to, what did they used to call that? Straight to
video.
Straight to TV or something. Yeah. I just feel like Cash was pushing this on us a little bit too much. He was too proud, in my opinion. I feel like it's a little bit of a distraction, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but it just seems like, look at all this great work we're doing. And I don't really feel that much safer. Do you feel safer, guys? Like, do you feel like the streets are safer? And
no, the people who are most upset are the gamblers. The gamblers are like, how do I get my money back for the games that were thrown? Right?
And rightfully so.
Yeah. It's weird to me. It's huge and it's going to be huge, but it's strange. And I think, I went through it today. Only, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 defendants. I think it was 4 that are in custody out of 35 right now. So that's it.
Yeah. And both of the NBA guys were released on their recognizance, if what I read is to be believed. So
all 3. Yeah.
Signature bonds and they're out. I love it. Yeah. Okay. Now, Lauren, we must have you come back, but as you can tell from looking at Gary, I have really pushed my luck and I'm on very thin ice. So I'm going to wrap it up, but we want you back. And for those, Gary may even put a link into a couple of your last articles or follow you because you're making news both on this and on the Sanchez case.
I would say you should definitely follow Lauren Conlin_Lauren on Twitter. She is very active there and links to a lot of her LA Mag pieces as well. And just in general, just be subscribed and visiting lamag.com to see Lauren and all of our other wonderful reporting as well.
And I'm told at least that she makes a hell of a ham and turkey sandwich. So, well, get back into the kitchen, Miss Conlon.
I'll go to the kitchen. Right. I'm not going to vote. I'll just go to the kitchen. Okay. And thank you, guys. Thanks so much. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Reasonable Doubt. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/Reasonable Doubt Podcast.